Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, the last time we talked a lot about some of the challenges facing the oil and gas industry. But let's quickly look at this issue. Is crude oil a blessing or a curse to Nigeria?
Personally, crude oil is a huge blessing to Nigeria and will continue to remain a huge blessing. It was a blessing yesterday, it is a blessing today, and it will remain a blessing tomorrow. But the way and manner one will manage the blessings of the Almighty is left to that individual, is left to that corporation, and is left to a country or a nation. So looking at things from that perspective, to me, and I stand to be corrected, personal opinion, it is a blessing. But we deliberately, intentionally, and as an opinion or option decided to forcefully make this crude oil, this God-given natural endowment, to be a cause to us today,
because,
which is very, very
because
unfortunate.
Why I ask that question is that there's this, school of thought that since the discovery of oil, Nigeria or Nigerians are now lazy, based on the fact that before the discovery of oil, we're depending on the groundnut pyramid and all of that. But since the discovery, it seems that attention have now shifted to oil alone, and we have been unable to develop other sectors of the economy.
Well, this is the way also I will want to explain it. If you have God-given attributes and you decided to redirect your attributes for the wrong reasons, so be it. If for any reason you are physically strong, you are energetic, you are tall, you are athletic, and you decided to use that to be a bully, to decide to use your God's-given physical attributes to be a rapist, it has nothing to do with the Almighty. As far as the Nigerian crude oil is concerned, it's a huge blessing, and this is the way I would want to explain it. When you talk about the crude oil on its own, first of all, as a global commodity, as a revenue oxygen, the more the oxygen and the higher the quality of the oxygen, the better for one to breathe.
That's right.
But if you decide to convert it into something else, of course, it will toxify your system. That's right. So the crude oil, first of all, when we got it, the first thing we needed to embark on, apart from the revenues, is to embark on internal domestication and refining. And when you embark on internal domestication and refining, the first thing that you do is you will create mobility of activities. One crude oil refinery in a location will attract carpenters, will attract food vendors, will attract drivers, will bring in accountants, will bring in vulcanizers, will bring in development, will bring in physical residential development and the rest. And it is when you have aggregation of activities, people being busy, people being engaged, that you now contribute to what we call GDP.
Okay.
GDP
is that what
simply
you call
means
domestication?
Yes, internal because you are doing it locally. Internal domestication leads to aggregate growth of a GDP, and GDP simply means growth and services within a country within a given year. So if you have a refinery in one location, like we said, in the morning there will be drivers picking people to go to work. When you go there, people will be working in those refineries. Some will have coveralls. Then that means tailors will have jobs to do. Right. There will be facilities that will need to be guarded. Then that means you will have security men. Right? You will have a lot of things that will require replacement. You will have people who will be supplying food to those working in the refinery. You understand? Local food vendors. And when you have local food vendors, then that means food ingredients, the vegetables, the tomatoes, and the rest will be supplied. Before you know, there is what you call money circulation. And that is how you spark up an economy. And at the end of the day, the circulation is going to be internal. Then one major advantage of having your refinery domesticated is, first of all, like in the case of Nigeria, we are talking about the downstream sector of the economy now. Because from the upstream, you drill, you get the crude oil, then in compliance with OPEC quota, you sell it to the international market or to the customers and you generate your revenues. That's right. But for the local consumption downstream, you don't have interference by OPEC. So that simply means, if in the case of Nigeria, we have the oil wells domiciled in Nigeria. That's right. Our local currency is called the Naira. All you need to do is you get the crude oil from the wellheads in Naira. Wellhead is when the crude oil comes, it comes to what we call the wellhead or the Christmas tree. You get the crude oil from the wellhead in Naira. That's right. You move it through the pipelines or through tankers to your respective refineries in your local currency called Naira. All right. You refine it in Naira. You sell it to Nigerians in what? In Naira. You consume your Naira and you enjoy your Naira. The first thing that will do is it will free you from foreign exchange pressures. It will free you from foreign exchange differentials. That on its own will reduce pressure on your external reserve. Because we are talking practical economy now, and we are talking about practically how you will grow your industry and internally domesticate. When you refine internally again, you will get raw materials internally. This raw material, you will get plastics, you will have resins, you will have so many things. You will have fibers that are components of crude oil refining. And that simply means you will now make a lot of people also busy when you have your petrochemical industry working. Then another component of fossil fuel is called natural gas. If you have your natural gas, first of all, as you are boosting the economy, with your internal domestication, making sure you have self-sufficiency in petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, your natural gas also, as you are producing it, you understand, it is from natural gas that you get what we call ammonia. It is from ammonia that you get urea. Then from your urea, you will start producing your fertilizer. So that simply means internally again, if you have plants that will make you to be producing ammonia, that plant will generate jobs for people. When you now move from graduation into the conversion of ammonia into urea, that means you have a urea plant. Okay, right? But all I'm just trying to say is, from there again, you get to fertilizer. Then that means you will have self-sufficiency in fertilizer. From fertilizer now, you will boost agriculture and you will enjoy food security.
Okay, this of course that you explain now.
Yes.
We don't have it at the moment.
No.
So what is currently obtainable now as regard to the oil and gas industry?
So as far as we are concerned in Nigerian oil and gas industry, first of all, we decided, which unfortunately I don't know the adjective to use to describe us, but I'm somebody who is a pessimist. I'm somebody who believes in my own country. But I cannot understand the reasoning why we will take this same crude oil here that we will have refined in Naira, distribute in Naira and generate our Naira. We will take this our crude oil now, send it out. You understand? The cost of shipping, the cost of transportation. Then tomorrow we will go and buy from other countries, who will have refineries there. And in those refineries, they will have the laborers, the caterers, the taxi drivers, the carpenters, boosting their own GDP. But all we will do is to go there, import just the refined distillates. By the time we import these refined distillates, first of all, We pay the cost of importation, we pay the cost of transportation, we pay the cost of insurance, and we now bring it to Nigeria. And it's only the distillates that we are going to take. And you know the funny thing that is happening? Because of that approach of importation, we are every day killing our economy. And the reason is very simple. We are an emerging economy. We have a weak currency called Naira that cannot compete with international currency. And we are also an importing nation. By the time you look at this, all the negatives are against us. And with that, that simply means we are going to be in problems. Okay. So ordinarily, what we are supposed to do is not to be an importing nation.
Okay, but to produce and localize our content.
The downstream, we internally domesticate it, because you will create, like I said, mobility of activities, then you will create ancillary services. Because GDP has to do with goods and services that are internally produced within a country.
Okay, let's take a moment. It's getting very interesting here. We'll take a moment on the show. We'll be back. Join us again. Glad to have you back now. The conversation still continues. Bala Zakka is still here with me. I was, going to ask you, we have a lot of, segment of the market of the oil and gas that we can develop. Nigeria at the moment, consume up to 40 liters of PMS per day. And it's such a huge market, but yet it seems we're doing, nothing or little about it. How do you think we can develop this huge market? If you look at the numbers, over 200 people, if not.
See, when you're talking about developing the market already exists. Okay. Rather, what we should be asking ourselves is, why is it that we don't want to take advantage of the huge market that we have here to refine our crude oil and domesticate everything that has to do with the downstream sector of the economy? First of all, the 40 million liters daily consumption of PMS that is being bandied around is false. All right. The 40 million liters, yes, I will explain it. The 40 million liters is actually based on the refining capacity or capacities of the 4 refineries that we had. The Warri refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery, the second Port Harcourt refinery, and the Kaduna refinery. Because the nameplate capacity of the 4 refineries is about 445,000 barrels per day. So by the time you multiply 42 gallons by 445 barrels, you will now convert the barrels into gallons. Then when you multiply that again by 4, you will now convert the gallons into liters. Then by the time you assume about 90% efficiency of, first of all, when you convert that to liters, then if you assume that about 60% of the yield is PMS, then that is when you are now going to get the given quantity of PMS or petrol. Then when you assume also that the refineries will be refining at about 90% efficiency, that will bring you to the value of about 40 million liters per day. So I don't want to start going into the details of the mathematics, but that's the conversion. You convert from barrels to gallons. From gallons, you convert to liters. Then you multiply by about 0.6, which will give you PMS yield. Then you multiply by about 0.9, which will give you 90% efficiency yield, assuming we are refining at 90% capacity.
So
that
by
was
this analysis,
as the 4 refineries.
we're not up to
yes,
40 liters?
No,
40
it's more
million
than.
liters.
It's more than now, because that was as at the time we had 4 refineries. But what I'm telling you is, from 1990 to now, 2018, are you saying the volume of activities have not increased? The number of automobiles have increased. The volume of activities in the strategic industrial sector, strategic domestic sector, and strategic commercial sectors have also increased. The volume of electricity supplies we are getting now has gone down, and to a reasonable extent, a lot of people are using petrol generators. So that means we have also gotten to a point where petrol generators and automobiles that are using petrol are also competing for the same petrol. And based on that, you cannot say that estimate of 40 million liters per day is realistic. But if you were to have electricity, these are the reasons why we said, from your natural gas, you can now drive the gas turbines and generate electricity. Once you generate electricity, you will reduce the pressure on the purchase of petrol at the filling stations, and also diesel. So once you reduce that, then because your electricity has gone up, then the consumption of petrol will be less for household in terms of generation and for those who are having their industries. And once you do that, then they will have some disposable income that they will put in their pockets. And if you have reasonable disposable income, that means you will not also be afraid of taxes. Because you will be able, by the time you pay your taxes and you have disposable income, means what is remaining after tax deductions. So when you look at it from that angle, it is very clear that you cannot be consuming the same 40 million liters per day because the volume of activities have increased. The number of automobiles have increased. The number of houses that do not have electricity and are using petrol generators have increased. The number of people using generators with petrol to drive and generate power have also increased. This is practical analysis. This is an objective analysis. This is an in-house analysis. This is our own Nigerian analysis. And there is this saying that when you are inside your family, there is no shame. Tell yourself the truth, fix your family, because if you refuse to fix your family, outside there, people will be laughing at you. So in the concept of Nigeria, whether we hide it or we don't hide it, it is already known. Nigeria is supposed to be the industrial hub for oil and gas based on our strategic positioning.
That's right.
Boats and vessels will come and be betching in Nigeria. Nigeria can be an offtake for gas supplies to different parts of the world, whether you call Europe or to the West African coastal region. Nigeria also is well positioned to take advantage of the same natural gas, like we said, get your ammonia, get your urea, produce fertilizer, and be self-sufficient in agriculture and food security. But the same natural gas, if we have the same fertilizer, if we have rail lines, we can use trains and wagons and sell our fertilizer to other African countries. The analysis of Nigeria can be straightforward. The problems of Nigeria are also straightforward. But the key thing is that even the resources to use, develop, and fix Nigeria have also been given to us by nature. The only thing that is still lacking and cannot be explained is the political will. You and I will always analyze and think like this generationally. But after 10 years, you still will be wondering why the refineries will not work. You will be wondering why we will be having issues with fertilizer. You will be wondering why we cannot take advantage of the gas to make sure we drive our gas turbines to generate electricity. That I cannot explain to you. If you make me a minister, maybe I will not also be able to solve it. And it is based on this confusion and quagmire that I feel there is supposed to be a powerful being that we should be praying to, whether we call him God or whoever, because it's so confusing. The problems are so straightforward. The solutions are within. We have all the brains, but we are still stuck in one place. We are generating motion but no movement.
And perhaps we should start looking at the political will, perhaps, to see how we can get it right in that sense.
And that is why most of the time when we talk about fixing the Nigerian economy or dissecting and analyzing the Nigerian economy, let us do it in national interest. Let us keep away political lining, regardless of a political party, regardless of sectionalism. Don't be bothered about political party. Don't be bothered about the section of the country. Don't be bothered about the demography. Be bothered about the concept and the entity called Nigeria. And that is why almost always I use the concept of a pilot. Every time people go to the airport to board an aircraft, I am yet to hear people bothering to know whether the pilot belongs to a particular part of the country, a particular religion, a particular race, or a particular demography. All they will be doing in one unit, they will all be praying that let the pilot take off from their departing destination and land them in their arrival destination. Sorry, from their departing location to their arrival destination. All they want is to land there safely. And if we look at Nigeria and dissect Nigeria in national interest, then that simply means the leader that will be there, we will only be praying that God should equip him with the knowledge and management dexterity to steer the affairs of the country so that politically we will enjoy health development, educational development, good security, good food security, and good social future for ourselves.
Just before I let you go, maybe you have to answer that as a parting shot. Of course, we've seen the prices of oil, jump in recent times, and a lot of people have said that's a plus for us. In your own thought, how do you think we should position ourselves to take advantage of this price increase?
Unfortunately and remotely, increase in price of crude oil or fall in price of crude oil is not helping Nigeria. First of all, when you talk about an economy, different sectors of the economy cannot be managed in the same manner. Some sectors will require privatization. Some sectors will require commercialization. Some sectors will require deregulation, while some sectors will require liberalization. As far as Nigeria is concerned today, because we are an emerging economy with a weak currency, and we are dealing with an international commodity, and we are an importing nation, whether price of crude oil goes up or down does not help us. And this is the way I will explain it. Every time prices of crude oil go up globally, ordinarily from the upstream, we will expect that when we sell, we are supposed to generate high revenues, right? To boost our external reserve. But because we are an importing nation, those countries that have the refineries outside Nigeria offshore, at that time, they will be buying crude oil at a high price once the price of crude oil goes up. So they will be buying at a high price. And because we are an importing nation, if we go there to buy refined products, we will buy refined products at what? At a high price, bring it into Nigeria at a high price, and get ourselves tortured. Secondly, this is the other reverse. If prices of crude oil go down, that means as an importing nation, when we import refined products, we will import them at a cheaper rate because the external refineries will buy them at a cheaper rate, refine them at a cheaper rate, and we will import at a cheaper rate. But unfortunately, that is when we will also be crying, because if the prices go down, we are depending on crude oil for our revenues. We will also be crying because we will not be generating good revenues. So if you look at it, whether it goes up or it goes down, we are going through torture. But once we reverse the other side and we start internal domestication, whether prices go up or go down, the concept of Nairanization of the downstream sector will help us. In other words, once the prices of crude oil goes up, all we need to do is the quantity we sell to the international community or to the international or global market is what we will sell to generate so much revenue to boost our external reserve. But because we are refining internally, you understand, we'll just get the crude oil from the wellheads here, refine here, transport through rail lines or through pipelines, you understand, at lesser cost, and we consume our naira. Every country you go, that country consumes its local currency. We are not saying that if we refine internally, we will not require spare parts that will require dollars or foreign currency. You can always bring spare parts, even if it is cars that you have. Once in a while, you import spare parts, even if it is machines. So if you have the refineries here, all we are saying, the cost of all this transportation, insurance, and demurrage of refined products will not be necessary. You will generate activities here, local, lower level, people we call operational level, strategic, level, and tactical level will all be engaged, and there will be self-sufficiency. That's how you close an economy, hold the economy, and grow it, then boost it.
Let's leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.